Taking a look at AMC stock, we got some great movement for the time being. We broke through the downward trend resistance line that dated back since June 2nd, 2021. Even though we went underneath it back again, but we broke through it, bounced off as support, continuing to the upside. I'm going to explain why the run-up will be happening relatively soon. I'm going to talk about the short positions, what price points in terms of resistance levels need to be broken on the way up for the run-up, what price points can you rely on as support if it were to come back down. I'm going to talk about as to why it would be coming down as well, and overall movement for the stock for the time being. Hopefully you like the video. Hopefully you find it helpful. If you do, consider dropping a like. It does help out the channel, so thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask. I'll try to answer them as soon as possible. And quick disclaimer, like always, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a professional, and everything I do share with you is just my opinion. It is not advice, so please do your own due diligence and research before buying and selling. Taking a look at the chart, I'm going to get back to the 1 month chart with a downward trend resistance line and breaking through and all that stuff, but I want to show as to why the run-up will be happening relatively soon and why I have conviction it will be happening relatively soon overall. If you look at the 5-year chart, more specifically the MACD line, this indicates if it's a bearish or bullish movement. Yes, for the time being, it is still in the negative. It's still indicating a bearish movement for the most part, but it's going to be crossing over soon to the positive potentially. Can it come back down? Yes, it can. So it could come back down before crossing over, and then it would just be a continuous, technically pull down, but it looks like it will be crossing over soon. So you could see an indication with it curving up, plus the bar is becoming a lighter shade of red and becoming smaller overall. So for the most part, in my opinion, I think we'll be crossing over to the positive soon, becoming a bullish movement, bullish momentum overall, optimistic. So hopefully that does happen. And the reason why I have a strong conviction that will happen for the most part is, first of all, the analysts that came out stating that AMC stock deserves to crash 87%, stuff like that. Absurd stuff. Like, I understand their justification technically, but for them to come out and say that, to me, shows that they're potentially scared, because that's not really professional in my opinion. And then also the fact that it's extremely shorted. That's the reason why everybody's playing it out for AMC stock. And right now, technically, it is considered heavily shorted, not extremely shorted, but I'll explain why it's potentially extremely shorted. So to be extremely shorted, the stock has to be shorted above 20%. Right now, as of August 13, 2021 dates, it is shorted about 18% for both shorted positions for floated stocks and outstanding shares, or floated shares and outstanding shares. The difference between floated shares and outstanding shares is outstanding shares includes restricted shares and floated shares does not. But for AMC stock, there's not many restricted shares, so therefore the percentage is at 18%. It's heavily shorted just considering these numbers. Now the reason why I believe it is extremely shorted is if you account for naked shorted shares, which for example some business channels have admitted that naked shorted shares are occurring for some stocks. And if that is the case, if you have above 2% additional naked shorted shares happening, then that would put this stock shorted above 20%, which would put it in extremely shorted territories, which is extremely beneficial for a short squeeze. And given what the analyst stated in the past about the stock deserves to drop 87%, to me shows that they're relatively scared or defending a hedge fund or whatever they might be doing. Again, this is all just my opinion, not advice, not a professional, etc., etc. So to me, that would lead me to believe that it's going to go to the upside. Plus, if you look at the 1 month chart, like I stated, breaking the downward trend resistance line that dates back since June 2nd, 2021. And yes, it broke it. So it had a false breakout before, but you could dismiss that, I guess, because even after the fact, it got knocked down as resistance after the fact. But it passed it, had a massive spike up. The run up, I guess, was probably potentially too quick, where it tried to bounce off support and then continue to upside, but it was not strong enough momentum, got pulled back down, broke through, then bounced off support twice right after, and then going to the upside. But it's forming an upward trend support line in a way. I'm just going to draw an amateur line. It's not really great to draw, but either way, it's amateur. Upward trend support, moving averages could act as support as well, continue to the upside like I stated. This doesn't mean that there's not going to be turbulence on the way up overall. What I mean by that is it could still get pulled down. So the price points you could rely on as support, so these are the support levels, is between essentially $41 to $42, maybe $43 price point. So somewhere around there, $41, $42 price point. And then the next support level is going to be between $39 to $40 price point. And these price points, what I'm looking at, for example, so let me just draw an amateur line for the most part, is right about here. And right now at $42 price point, you could see where it bounced off a few times at the $40 price point. So it came down, bounced off the $42 price point as support on June 4th, 2021. And then again on June 10th, 2021, bounced off $42 price point, and then twice right about here on September 2nd and September 3rd. Relatively speaking, for the most part, $42 price point. And then the next support level you could rely on, for the most part, like I stated earlier, is mainly for the most part $39, $40 price point. You can see came down, bounced off on July 8th, 2021, and then again bounced off on August 27th, 2021. So for the most part, these are the two support levels I'm looking at, the $39 to $40 price point, and then the $41, $42 price point. Now for the upside, because I just want to state, yes, I expect it to go to the upside because of the 5-year chart, but it's not going to be a smooth ride to the upside. Relatively speaking, it's going to be about a month, I would say, because the 5-year chart is a longer chart, so it takes time to move it. So roughly about a month for the most part. So again, it could go up, come down a little bit. It's not going to be smooth sailing to the upside until it breaks these specific levels. So this is to the upside. It needs to break the $50 price point, which we've seen have issues quite a bit of times breaking through the $50 price point. And that again is horizontal resistance levels. You could just see quickly right about here. It spiked up to $50 almost, give or take $50 and some change, and got knocked down twice right about here. So hopefully you visually could see twice right about there. And the biggest one is a $60 price point. So if you could just visually see right about here, hopefully it went up to the $59, $60 price point a few times, 3 times right about here and got knocked down, a few times right here. Yes, false breakouts after the fact, but then even after the fact of those false breakouts, it got knocked down multiple times. And you could argue that this downward trend resistance line was the thing that knocked this down back here, but then this price point right about here, it could not pass $59, $60 in essence. There will be false breakouts, but it would have to be clean breakthroughs. If you want to be confident that it's a real breakout, you would have to pass the $63 to $65 price point, 66. So between $63 to $66 price point, if that breaks, then you're going to be having a good run up overall. Question is, how high will it go? It depends. The thing is though, you could probably, because it's short squeeze, I think it's going to pass $72.62, but it's debatable because technically it could probably get knocked down again by the all-time high, because that all-time high is not a thing to like joke around with. Like, it's technically going to be acting as resistance for sure, but because it's a short squeeze, I think it could be dismissed in my opinion. But again, this is all just my opinion. It is not advice. Please do your own due diligence and research before buying and selling. So that's basically the run-up, explaining the overall movement. Hope you liked the video. Hope you find it helpful. If you do, consider dropping a like. It does help the channel, so thank you so much again, like always. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask. I'll try to answer them as soon as possible. And if you like videos like this or other financial videos, consider subscribing so you'll be notified when I do upload those videos. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next video. Peace.